Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. I wrote an article a number of years ago that got published in a magazine that no longer exists. And I was looking at the article and I thought, well, this pretty much is a self-healing lesson. So I've been working, updating it the past few days. So it starts out with a quote that comes from Proverbs that Emerson used. It's, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." So that could be true of all of us, right? If we don't have any vision, we don't know where we're going. Especially if our self-concept is poor, everything about our teaching is about, life goes, if you set your sails in a direction, if you believe something, your life will start to demonstrate in that direction. So this is a self-healing class. Today we want to think about our vision, having a vision, developing some wild and exciting aspirations. You might think, oh my God, my life is like wherever you think you are. Everyone has a self-assessment. You think you're a certain age and a certain place, and you think you've accomplished certain things. And I'm here to try to kind of like reignite the light and the flame that's in all of us. We've been through a lot in life, every one of us. I know I've been through a lot. I know many people in this audience and the people who are listening on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube that find us. I want you to know that I understand that most of you have been through quite a bit. And some of you have survived illnesses. I know somebody's recently been dealing with, I don't think it was lupus or something else, and then someone else has been dealing with something with their heart. So people deal with things who come onto this call, and I want you to understand, sometimes when we're presenting the teaching, it seems as though we're presenting as though life is all roses. We're aware that people on the call sometimes have gone through a lot. They've lost loved ones, they're dealing with health challenges, and they need support, and we're here to support everybody. As we're here to show you how to step out of some of these states, where you're hurting. A lot of people, some people have been through some things that, you might think are unbelievable or unhealable or unspeakable. And to our younger audience, which we're picking up some younger people, you're at this point in your life, you may not have experienced some of the things I'm talking about. But I can think possibly you've seen your grandparents and other people in your life who've gone through some of life's experiences. One thing that is certain for anyone on the call, at least during the past couple of years, you've been through a lot. We've been through the whole COVID experience. Anybody here has been through that, and it's been challenging for everybody. Incomes have been changed, fortunes have been evaporated or lost, and that would be a lot for everybody. I don't know anybody who was prepared for that in terms of it wasn't anything that you insure yourself against, or you have a better diet and you can prevent. So tonight in this lesson about vision, it's time for us to think about doing we'll call it a relaunch. Some of you probably already have done a relaunch. Some of you are really good at practicing the teaching, so you're already ahead of what I'm talking about. But that won't be everybody. Many of us need to kind of like assess and remember that we have strengths and we've accomplished things, and just the memory of the things you have overcome can give you some perspective, because you've already achieved a lot. It's just that when you're in the middle of hell or hellish situations, you forget the strength that you possess. You forget that you've always somehow gotten through, and really you're in a better place than what you were before. So maybe we need to take stock and remember and get a grip and relaunch and start again. as we move forward, always in all of these lessons, you're going to get some type of messaging from me that we need to let go of our preconceived ideas. Why? Because the preconceived ideas, it's like a form of prejudice. Don't like that word too much, but we all have it, right? Prejudice means I've got all these ideas inside of me that are shaping the way I think, and it shapes my experience and my experiences of other people. So this teaching's about changing those preconceived ideas and letting go of them so you can embrace bigger ideas, new ideas, and fresh ideas. And the thing about spirit that's beautiful is spirit will always feed you the new and the creative. The word inspiration is like when you're connected, that flows right to you. It's always doing that. That was a message of Ralph Waldo Emerson that I so loved years ago. He said it's as though spirit is wooing you. Like there's this something within you that in the quietest of moments, in the weirdest of times, there'd be an idea to pay attention to. And in my thinking mind, I'll be trying to force solutions and really trying to, make something happen. And it just doesn't work that way. But if you ask questions of yourself, there is that which is within you that always knows. And you might not have the answer right at that moment. Generally, I think it comes to you almost instantly. But oftentimes, even if you sleep on it and you think about it, out of the blue, so to speak, what you need to know is revealed to you because you're an inlet and outlet of this source energy. And all the information you'll ever need is available to you. It doesn't deny anybody. So tonight, we're talking about vision and setting our sails in a new direction. Okay, so, you might have been really good at this once. I remember where I was really good at one point in my life, and then I seemed to get off track a little bit. So what do you do when you're off track? One thing you don't do is you don't beat yourself up for being off track. You gently and lovingly talk to yourself and say, okay, we start again. I remember in 12-step programs years ago, they used to say, it's never too late to start your day over. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 o'clock at night. You begin again once you become aware. One thing that we all could work on collectively is getting rid of the dead wood. It's tough for you to move forward if you're 4 or you're 40 or whatever age you are, if you're carrying around a lot of prejudice. I've already talked about that a little bit. Prejudice, preconceived ideas, where you're incapable of being in a new moment with a person because you got all this stuff. And you're kind of like got this scorecard, like, God, they did this to me and they did that to me. And, and I felt humiliated. I felt judged. I felt belittled. And so you got the equivalent of a scorecard, and that's a big story. And I can promise you, if you want to have new vision, you want to elevate your consciousness, you want to move into a new realm, all that stuff somehow, some way, you would want to drop because it doesn't serve you. You might be remembering a time in your life where you seemed to have it all together. I was thinking that was about 39. Had it all together, so I thought. And, everything's working, right? You might have had times where you remember, okay, this was really a great time in my life, right? And you had prestige, and you had this, and you had that. And everything's coasted along, and then life does what life does. Everything changed. And I'm saying that was my experience a couple of times in my life, and I know it's been the experience of many of you. It could be all the economic gains seem to evaporate into thin air. It could be a housing crisis, a stock thing. It could be a relationship where things changed and you went through a lot of pain, and whoever it is no longer here in the physical realm, or someone left you or whatever. And where you were riding on top of the world with great optimism, all that seemed to disappear. And these things do happen to people. They happen to everybody. Not the same things happen to everybody, but we all go through a version of this. So in our classes, we teach you, how to ride through all these things. I've been teaching self-healing classes for over 30 years. It seems to be that there's one group of people who attend the class that are easily defeated by anything that happens, and they rarely stick around. Then there's another group of people that, they practice the teaching. They're what I call the real deal, and they still have the challenges. I've had plenty. They have the challenges, but they stick, and they stick through it. They walk through the experience because they have the faith that they will get to a higher and better place. And what happens for this group is the very challenges that they've had become the stepping stones to, wisdom. They become formidable people because they have great character and strength, and they have faith. People on the call tonight will be joining us in different places in consciousness. I can almost imagine the people who might find us, a month or two on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram, and wherever you are, you're in your own divine right place, and this message will be getting to you at the right and perfect place. All of us are evolving in spiritual understanding. So wherever you are, it's good. That's the first thing to understand. So you come into a self-healing class, a Louise Hay class. Louise Hay is incredibly important to us because she was the face of our teaching for a generation. She was a student at this particular church, this center, and she wrote the incredible book, You Can Heal Your Life. And because of her, most likely I'm here, because I embraced her work and I started teaching it from the very beginning. Basically, she was teaching our teaching, that your life is consciousness. And the thing is, that's the great gift, God in you, source in you, as you is you, and it's responding to you all the time. So there's nothing you can't do, there's nothing you can't heal. You can excel, you can level up, you can thrive. You have within you everything you need. And so what we're committed to doing every week is reminding you of all of that. So some of you are here and you're willing to thrive and to embrace new moments and expand. And some of you will be here and you'll want to hold on to old ideas and you'll self-sabotage to a degree. And to the extent you self-sabotage, you'll be thwarting in your own forward movement and success. In our spiritual philosophy, we know that Source is always inspiring us with new ideas. We want to evolve, and we intend to expand. So most of us who attend these groups, I don't want to use the word religiously, but most of the people who plug in often, right? You're eager to expand and you're eager to trade in the lesser ideas for the greater. These people who plug in week by week have a greater willingness to move forward. And if you want to evolve consciously and move forward, then you pay attention to what's working and you pay equal attention to what isn't working. Every Thursday, I ask that important question, what has the conversation been like with the most important person in the world? Meaning, what is your day-by-day conversation sound like when you're talking to yourself? I trust that life will reveal to me what I need in any given day. And I'd like you to develop that type of confidence. If you trust that life will give you exactly what you need, bit by bit, you're willing to change. Healing and wholeness and all of these great things could be demonstrated in an instant, but it doesn't usually work that way. You could demonstrate everything. The universe isn't, it takes no time to demonstrate anything. Our consciousness is the thing that needs to change. The demonstrations will come as quickly as our consciousness shifts. There's an old adage, which I jotted down for tonight, Consciousness not attained can't be maintained. I'll say that again. Consciousness not attained can't be maintained. So if you want to demonstrate a successful life, then your consciousness has to be about success. If you want to have peace and serenity, then your consciousness needs to be about peace and serenity. If you come to a class and you learn a bunch of affirmations, and you're not keeping that, if that's not what's living inside of you, then what will be demonstrated is what lives inside of you. I know a lot of you read spiritual books, you tune into different things on YouTube and all that, and unfortunately, reading a spiritual book or hanging out and coming to a single class or two is not going to demonstrate this flawless life of harmony, peace, prosperity that you're looking for. In this class, as you get to really work with this material, you're going to understand that there are no quick fixes. I love the book, The Law of Attraction, for example. I remember playing the movie, but in some ways it doesn't really tell the whole story. It doesn't adequately illustrate that we pay for everything in spiritual coin. So it's great to read the affirmations. It's great to hear about how the law works. But the thing is, ultimately, you pay for whatever's in your life. So we do the work. With consciousness, we can demonstrate the exceptional life. We can go as far as we want to. If you really want to level up, if you want to have this transcendent life, or if you just want a life that works better, it will be something that you will need to work at. We call it the affirmative life, where we're training ourselves and practicing seeing the good. Edwina Gaines years ago taught me this little lesson, and I played with it for years. And I'll give it to you tonight. Here's your challenge, right? The challenge is for a week to play with this idea. Keep a little journal for yourself. Challenge yourself that you're going to, in every situation, see the God or see the good. See the good or see the God. Wherever you're inclined to see something as being terrible, or you're going to create somebody to be a monster, or you're going to be offended, your challenge is to see the God or the good. Okay, now that's really developing the mystical approach to life, because you call yourself practitioners, I call myself a practitioner. Well, if I am that, then be that. Challenge yourself to see the God or the good. I mean, it's a tall order. But the thing is, if you do that day in and day out, see what comes up for you. See where you derail. See where you get into judgment. See where you try to criticize people. See where you do all that stuff and they're not enough, and they're not doing it well enough, and they're not doing it well enough for your standards. See where you go with that. And then you realize, oh my goodness, there's so much work for me to do with who? Myself. I will not be involved in anybody else's business anymore because I'm going to realize there's plenty of work to be done with the most important person in your world. So let that be your challenge for the week. I played with this one for years, and I love to come back to it. Then you start to play with the idea, everything that's happening in life is not happening to me, but it's happening for me. Okay, so what does that do? If you can have that shift, it's all happening not to me, but it's for me, then you live in a world where you realize, okay, I'm a center of God consciousness and everything is happening for me. And then I can refuse to be offended, okay? Because everything is, I live and move and have my being in God. So the challenge is, spend a week, challenge yourself to see the good in God in every situation. Another way you can tie into this is every encounter is a holy encounter. It's the same thing. It's just, you're training your consciousness to be elevated where you see the good in all things. So let that be a challenge for a week. Throughout each day, start with a meditative moment, a treatment if you know how to do one, or if not, recognize that you're sitting one with the one. and knowing you're supplied and supported, and resolve you're going to go through this day seeing the God or the good. If you do that, I promise you, you're going to elevate, probably levitate, but you'll certainly elevate yourself, and you'll be seen with a different kind of vision than probably you're currently using. So do that and see what comes up. I'd be interested in getting an email or note, or we can talk about it next week or whenever you want. This is the work I always did. I would say, this is God in my life, this is God in my life, whatever the heck it was. This is God in my life. The point here is that it is a process. It is the work that we do as religious scientists. Yeah, we can demonstrate health and wealth and every good thing because the universe always says yes to us, but we have to believe it. And we have to bring our vibration, we have to bring the level of our understanding up quite a bit. If you're spending 1 minute pointing a finger talking about anybody, you're lost. Because the thing is, we live as these beings that are interconnected, and we understand that everyone is a part of us and everybody's doing the best they can with what they got. So whenever you go to the dark side or towards criticism, you're pointing a finger at somebody, you got 3 pointing right back at you. If you can spot those things in other people, they're your issues that you've not yet dealt with. I mean, you may have dealt with them to a degree, but you haven't completely dealt with them. We do our work in consciousness. We do our work in mind. As soon as we're talking about other people, we've missed the mark. That's the sin. The work is a process. I mean, you could demonstrate things instantly as soon as you become clear. It doesn't usually work that way for most of us. You can heal your body, you can heal your life, but there needs to be an alignment within you, where you connect from your head to your heart, your whole being. Change, unfortunately or fortunately, depending upon how you look at it, is a constant in life. The universe is alive with energy. Everything you see, everything I see in this room is full of energy. All people, all things have a certain vibration. If you begin to work with this teaching, you'll understand that more. As I was preparing a little bit for this lesson, I thought, oh my God, how you've changed, Greg, over the years. And I thought, I have, but been working at this for a long time. And as I noticed I've changed, I noticed that the generations, the people around me have changed a lot too. People think about things differently. Whole generations of people have let go of things that we used to swear by. I remember my parents and grandparents, they had all this stuff that if they were alive today, I'm sure they wouldn't believe either. So, you really want to examine what you're hanging on to and ask yourself, is it life-giving? I did a talk recently on the 4 agreements, and it spoke of all these agreements that we've had through our generations that have been passed down from our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents. And the author was saying, as soon as we can untie ourselves from some of those old agreements, it's like we're letting light and freshness and energy into our life. Many of us are not living, we're not allowing ourselves to have vision because we're so tied in and tied up with ideas of what we should be. That word should, which is like a dirty word here. Louise said that's the word you should throw away from the English language, because wherever it's being used, it's really saying not good enough, not good. Greg, you should be a different kind of minister. Greg, you should do this. Greg, you should do that. Wherever that happens, the person is basically saying not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. And wherever that shows up, wherever you're doing it, it really points to you and your own things that you need to heal. So if you're in a relationship, you're in a job, and people are doing whatever they do, you want to not to. Here's something for you. Don't take anything personally. That comes from the 4 agreements, because whatever is being articulated or said is not personal. And, if you take it personally, then, it becomes a problem for you. Everybody is doing the best that they can. So let's have the vision to know that as much as you're doing the best you can with the information, understanding you have, everyone else is too. Our job is to work on ourselves and to awaken to the truth of who we are. We are an individualization of this one power. you're born of, you're one with the one, and you have all the power and the potential within you to heal and to heal yourself and to lift up a whole harbor of people and to move mountains. There's an affirmation Louise Hay used to say, I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. And then she went on to say, and there's nothing I need to change. That's such an important idea, because a lot of people like, oh, I'll love myself when I lose the 10 pounds. I'll love myself when I get the job. I'll love myself. Everything is in the future, and the healing the languaging has to be brought back to the present. I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. Now, right now. Yeah, and you'll make changes, and we'll all make changes. We're going to make changes because we're going to be in tune with life. Or if we're not in tune with life, then we're going to be given other challenges. But change will happen. But the loving yourself and approving of yourself, ideally you're doing that day by day, hour by hour. And you realize what we teach here, that you're in the perfect place at the perfect time and all the time. Another thing, if you want to have your vision be expanded, I know you'll never see this on the news stations, but I'll give it to you live here from First Center and West 84th Street, is I love the world the way it is now. People are in the right place right now. See, you do the messaging the other way, you look at the world as like it's torn and it's terrible and it's going to hell in a handbasket and it's like full of, if you're focused on all the problems, then that's what you're going to be seeing. That's the lens from which you see. I'm asking people to step up quite a bit. If you really want to be a help to the world, then be a healing agent in the world. See everybody as having what they need, and knowing everybody is whole and complete and supplied and supported. And first of all, it begins with you, knowing that you are whole and complete and supplied and supported. That's the consciousness that lifts the world. If you have the consciousness of divisiveness everywhere, you're going to live with a lot of strife and a sense of injustice, and you're going to be torn, and you won't move forward. Your consciousness is kind of like not very elevated. That's the masses, and so you'll be in a world of action and reaction, and we're here to lift ourselves up and lift others up too. This comes from learning to love ourselves and from creating a different vision. As you learn to lift yourself up and your consciousness up, you'll begin to demonstrate a far more prosperous life, a far more creative life, and a much happier life. Each of us are connected to the Spirit, and we have something amazing and unique about us. You're one in a million, you're one in a billion. In fact, there's no one ever been alive that's ever been exactly like you. So you have value. Your value can't be calculated, and the power you have is awesome, and that can't be calculated either. The sad thing is, what you have is hidden to most of the world. And what you know here, if you really listen to this teaching, is so much more than most people realize. For those of you who are listening to this class and can embrace this information to any degree, this is really exciting stuff. See, that means you'd be plugged in wherever we do a class, you'll be reading all the time, and you turn off the TV where they're doing Ain't It Awful, and you really try not to buy into that stuff, and you realize that I am cause to my own experience. What does that mean? I am cause to my own experience. It means that whatever the heck I really believe with my whole heart and soul is what I'm going to create. If I want to see myself as a victim, and I want to get in that story of everything that everyone has done wrong to me and how I've been disadvantaged or hurt, if that's what I want to carry around with me, if that's the dead wood that I carry with me, if that's the story I want to maintain, that's the life I'm going to create. You don't have to do it that way. It's the way of the world. And, people are looking for salvation. If I can get this yacht, or if I can get this trophy wife, or if I can get this trophy boyfriend or girlfriend, and then I'll be okay. It's always about the happiness will be sometime down the road when you acquire something. Or I know a bunch of spiritual junkies too. They're going to go off to and I was one of them when I was younger. I'm going to go here and I'm going to go there and someone's going to give me the answer. And there wasn't a plane or a bus or a train that could stop me either, because I was always trying to, get those answers. But much like all the stories that bring you back, from the Wizard of Oz to, what's the other one? There's several. The end, it's always going to be the journey that we're on, the spiritual journey without a distance. It's always going to be an inner journey, and there's no place like home. So you have the power within you to move mountains and to change your life and to lift the world. What you have has been called the best kept secret of the ages. Most of humanity operates in a dream world where they believe they're alone. They're very much involved in a game of survival. They feel that they have to get ahead of the other person. They unknowingly have been programmed with a lot of information, and they've bought into a bunch of agreements of society through their family groups that they were part of. There's lots of rigid rules and agreements that have been passed down, and it's nobody's fault, right? But what we're here to tell you here, if you can adjust your sails and embrace a new vision, there's tremendous good and opportunity always available to you, starting here, starting now, right today. My quick suggestion for tonight was begin practicing seeing the God or good throughout the week in everything. See how that works. So you have this gift. That's one way you can nurture it. Or my notes to myself is you can totally neglect what's precious inside you and not use the power that's yours. Ernest Holmes said there's power for good in the universe greater than you, and he said you can use it. And the fact is you are using your power all the time, but you most likely are using it without knowing. So you're creating your own bad luck. Many of us have bought we've bought into ideas of failure and bad luck, and we embrace doom and gloom, and we've forgotten that we experience the world through our own eyes. I'll say that again because it's an important idea. We are always experiencing the world through our own eyes. The great teachers of religious science used to say for us to look away from conditions that we're dwelling upon. Because if you keep focusing on what's wrong, and you keep on doing that, what do you think you're going to be creating? The transcendental movement, our roots were in that, is to look across that stuff. It's not that you're denying the reality of certain facts, but the facts are not the entire story. It's just like in your own life, you've gone through problems and you could have thought it was the end of the world as you're going through them. But as you look back at them, 10, 20 years later, my God, those terrible things were the very things that brought me to the greatest points of my life. And life is like that. So if you can develop that kind of view, it's called different things by different people. The long view is one way it's expressed. If you can have that kind of faith where you know that every single thing that's happening that's unpleasant is here to bring me to a higher place of understanding, and if you can have that kind of faith to say that this is God in my life, this is good. You don't like the word God, throw it away. This is good in my life, and that's good in my life, and this is good in my life. That's the consciousness of a healer. That's the consciousness of a practitioner. That's a person who's going to level up. Where the rest of the world can be saying everything's going to hell, you're going to say, this is God in my life. And, it will be, because you're going to see yourself as being supplied and supported. So if you can, look away from the conditions and refuse to be offended and understand that they're all doing the best they can with what they have. So you don't have to curse them or blame them. Just let them be who they are and focus on yourself in that sense. Have that kind of faith and love yourself enough. Terry Cole Whitaker wrote that book entitled, What You Think of Me Is None of My Business. Don't expect that everyone's going to get you or understand you or your gifts or your talents, because you're unique in the world and they're not going to get you. And that really shouldn't be that important to you. In my notes, when I was younger, I always thought I had a better idea about everything. And I was getting a lot of things wrong because I didn't have the understanding of what I have now. When I was younger, I was in reaction a lot to everything. Even though my intent might have been to be helpful, I was focused on everybody and what they were all doing. And in those moments, you know, we don't really have the whole picture of where people are. So again, if you want to move forward, take the focus back from what other people are doing and work with your own consciousness. Again, from the Four Agreements, we spoke recently about it and how we have such a responsibility, knowing that the power of we have power in our word, and we want to start to use our power more carefully and more thoughtfully. Bill Tolliver, who was my teacher, used to say, you know, he used to say, are you a lifter or are you a leaner? So there's a question for yourself. Are you usually, the 2 cents you're throwing into any conversation to lift people up, or are you there to criticize? Are you a lifter or are you a leaner? Okay. If you don't have anything good to say, you've heard this before, right? Just drop it. I was raised in an Irish family, and they weren't too smart in one way. There's an old adage for the Irish: is this a private fight or can anybody get in? It's really dumb, you know. You know, it's just, I can joke about my own group. I don't need to get in all those entanglements, right? I can understand perfect place, perfect time, and mind my own business, right? Why I joke about that is that seems to be the story of most people's lives. They're doing a lot of acting and reacting. As you come back into this teaching, or as you come to this teaching for the very first time, as you desire to improve and level up, you become more of the student. And you have much less to say, right? You have a certain humility. You're coming here, look, I'm not here to change those people. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to grow and expand. I'm here to eliminate and neutralize the things that don't work and replace the things that don't work with things that do. I want to embrace empowering ideas. I want to understand that I'm one with the one. I want to join in a community where people are working on themselves. I want to know all as well, as Louise Hay so eloquently used to say, and I want to trust in the process of life, which she also said. Each of us carry around a lot of ideas and beliefs that no longer serve us at all. In the Four Agreements, the author would say, we carry around a lot of agreements that our ancestors passed on, and we will not regain power, personal power, until we dismantle many of those agreements. You can't experience freedom when you're bound by all this rigidity. In our teaching, we understand that we live, move, and have our being in this unitary field of God energy. It's called many things by many cultures, but that energy is the animating energy of everything, and it's in us, and it responds to us. For those of us who are enlightened enough to know that we are in truth filled with this energy, then we have a lot of calmness and some transcendent peace. We sense our own importance. We're developing a reverence for life, and we see this energy in everything. And we look for opportunities to lift ourselves up and people up wherever we can. We do our work in consciousness more than anywhere else. We don't have to go out there and convert anybody. We need to work on ourselves so we become that thing. If you become the thing, you don't really need to go out there and, you'll naturally be an influence in life if you're living from that place. We know that all is well and that everyone is where they are by virtue of their consciousness. It's not our desire to change anyone or anything. We are of service simply by having this awareness. And this awareness fills us up. And it will touch a lot of people. When a person becomes aware of these gifts, their joy is living in and experiencing this peace and maintaining positive expectancy. When stuff comes up for you day by day, my suggestion is immediately neutralize any doubts, and start your day over. The awareness that we have from this teaching is creating a whole new order. It doesn't matter what you're doing in your respective jobs or what you have and don't have. It does matter that we realize that we are connected and each of us are important to the process of life. Whatever we do, we're important. And say, I know a lot of you don't feel that you are, but I'm here to tell you, you are. You're important. And I want you to keep on coming around here till you learn, I love, accept, and approve of myself. If nothing more, embrace that idea. Begin to say, I love, accept, and approve of myself exactly as I am. And the rest will come after that, as far as I'm concerned. If you want to practice the exercise this week of seeing the God in the good in the God, that's kind of a fun exercise to do because you'll see the stuff, you'll say, oh my goodness, now I'm creating this person to be you create people to be terrible. And what you'll start to understand is this is your creation. This isn't who they are. This is the baggage that I have, and I'm creating these people to be all these things. So all healing is self-healing. So that's the work. And so we work on ourselves. Report back next week. Let me know how you've done. And you might last about 4 hours, and then I'll say, well, if you call me, I'll say, okay. All right, well, start your day over. But if you keep practicing at it, you'll begin to have some fun with it. And furthermore, you're going to know the truth of it. And there's a whole bunch of you out there who think you got guilt and shame, and I don't know what to tell you other than we have to find a way to drop it, okay? Because guilt and a sense of shame will take you no place that you want to go. We think that the things we've done are unforgivable, and we have to find a way to release the guilt. Because all that guilt holds you back. So it's time for a new realization and a new self-dialogue. The question every Thursday night is, what is it like being you? And I'm not after like what you did all week long. I might be interested personally, but that's not what we're after here. What's it like being you? What's that inner critic been like this week? The one that says, oh, you messed up, you're a mess. What's it been like being you? Have you been kind to the most important person in the world? Or have you been judging the hell out of yourself and everybody else? So whatever it is, you can say, oh, look, I've been really tough on myself. We're not after, personal confessions and stuff. It's just really for you to start to pay attention to the way you're thinking of life, because whatever is going on, if I'm being really, really critical of myself, then I know I'm doing it with other people too, okay? So it's to take stock of that a little bit. Hopefully you're learning to love yourself more and more each week, and then you're judging yourself less, you're giving yourself a break, your self-dialogue is turning to be more like a friend to self. And as you learn to love yourself, then that's inner harmony extends to others. I guess I have a closing thought or two. I want you tonight to consider and know that you are part of infinite life, you're one with it. You're made of this God energy. There's something, the same energy that it's animating you. And when you consciously unite with that energy, your path becomes clear. The word sin comes from an ancient language, Aramaic, which means missing the mark. So maybe we've missed the mark in some ways with all of our old agreements that we perpetuate, all of our old programming and our BS, right? You can decide. I'd like to believe that everything that's happened has brought you to where you are, and each of us are on the right track. If you found yourself in a class like this tonight, there's no coincidence. Everything that you've done up till now has been important and necessary for you to have the understanding you have and the awareness that you have. You are right where you're supposed to be. The question is now, what are you going to do with this information? What are you going to do to maintain this higher and more elevated conversation? And if you mess up, remember, Never too late to do what? To start your day over again. In fact, one of the songs associated with the Louise Hay material, the lyric is remembering, here's the lyric, remembering and forgetting, it's the game that we play. So when you're in a place of remembrance and you're plugged into the truth, then there's a restoration. And you really, you won't criticize yourself, you just begin again. And if you keep working with these ideas, affirmations, I am supplied and supported, I love myself the way I am, or the one for tonight is I'm committed to seeing the God or the good or the God. If that's, try that for a while, just see how that works. Because the goal here is to elevate your consciousness, to get yourself out of that place where you're just going to that old programmed stuff. And because when you're responding and reacting with the old programmed stuff, you cannot be in the present moment. You're just like, you're bringing all the prejudice, preconceived ideas into the moment. Then I can't see you new because I got all this stuff I'm carrying with me, and which makes seeing you it means it's impossible to have a new moment if you're carrying all that stuff with you. So that would be the lesson. There's more. There's always more with my lessons, but I'll leave it on a positive note. Many of us have lost sight of the power that we have. With a new vision, we can decide to thrive and make new empowering decisions. So let's see what you have to say. When you really love yourself, you're going to attract every good thing. And so it is for this evening. I want to open up the floor. I guess you're going to do a commercial first. Is that correct? Okay, we're going to see you in like a minute. How are you doing?